Mark, thank you for that mediocre introduction. Very specifically wonderful. Truth hurts. It's funny that Mark talks about the work that I've done at the shul. It really isn't work, it's just a love. I love doing what I do. When I was a kid and we get to Purim, I went to a little shtibel as a kid. That's like a room literally a third of the size of this length. We had 27 old Polish men and a Rottweiler named Moshe, who was the rabbi. Now, I was in a shtibel, literally a third of the size of this room, and I grew up in this shtibel. And when we got to Purim, these 27 old men would literally get up after the Megillah and go, we're having fun, come on everyone. And I said, why don't we have a musical? Why don't we get out and go around and do a carnival? And they went, Meshiga, the boys Meshiga. So I grew up wanting to do all these things and wanting to have the stuff that we now do. So if any of you have kids or grandchildren and you're members of this wonderful congregation, Beth Tzedec congregation, and you have not been exposed, metaphorically speaking, to the Purim Megillah and the musical that my wife and I write every year, you should climb on board and it's a wonderful ride. It's a lot of fun. And the most rewarding thing for me is to see people who would never integrate with each other, who would never know and associate with each other. So we have people who are grandparents on stage with their grandchildren. That to me is what Purim and shul is all about. So if you ever get a chance to do something like that, if you're members of another shul, tell the people who are in charge of the shul, the janitor, the people who make the tea, tell them, we want to do a Purim musical because that's what it's all about. I have brought notes. See? Okay, this is very important. Pay attention. I'm only going to be 8 minutes, Larry, so you don't have to put the blue and the red light and the green light and the orange light. Because I've seen colours since I was 3 years old, but the medication will be sort of taking effect soon. Now, a rabbi's son had just gotten his driving permit. He asked his father about the use of the family car. His father said, Rabbi, I'll make a deal with you. You bring your grades up, study your Talmud a little, enter the men's club and sisterhood speech contest at your shul, get your hair cut, and then we'll talk about it. So after about a month goes by, and the boy comes back to ask his father, the rabbi, about his use of the car. The rabbi said, you know, son, I'm very proud of you. You brought your grades up. You've studied the Talmud diligently. You have entered and got a place in the Beth Tzedec speechwriting contest, but you didn't get your hair cut. And the young boy replies, you know, Dad, I've been thinking about that. You know, Samson had long hair. Moses had long hair. Noah had long hair. Even Jesus had long hair. And the rabbi said, yes, and everywhere they went, they walked. That joke was not given to me by Mark Lapidus, which is why it's funny. A burglar broke into a house one night. He shined his flashlight around and was looking for valuables when a voice in the dark said, Jesus knows you're here. The burglar nearly jumped out of his skin. He clicked his flashlight off and froze. A few seconds later, he heard nothing more. After a bit, he shook his head and continued. Just as he pulled the stereo out and was disconnecting the wires, as clear as a bell, he heard again, Jesus is watching you. Now the burglar was freaked out. He shined his light around frantically, looking for the source of the voice. Finally, in the corner of the room, his flashlight beam came to rest on a parrot. Did you say that? He hissed at the parrot. Yep, the parrot confessed. And then he squawked, "I'm just trying to warn you that he is watching you." The burglar relaxed. "Warn me, huh? Who in the world are you?" "Moses," replied the bird. "Moses," the burglar laughed. "What kind of people would be crazy enough to name a bird Moses?" The parrot replied, "The kind of crazy people that would name a Rottweiler Jesus." Yeah.